I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car. Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new mixed review. And today's mixed review is going to be for 2024's last year's Shudder hit, the 6th entry in the VHS franchise, VHS Beyond. Which, as you saw in my physical media collection, yes, I did buy this so I could rewatch it and give this review because, well, I am willing to buy all the VHS films. Alright, so what is the plot of VHS Beyond? Well, VHS Beyond is actually the franchise's first sci-fi themed entry in the anthology horror series that started off with 2012's VHS, aka a bad first film that got some better sequels. This one is about 6 blood-curdling tapes that unleash horror in a sci-fi inspired hell landscape that push the boundaries of fear and suspense. Yeah, pretty much, it's much like VHS A5, the wraparound is a documentary. Then, you get 5 tapes that are pretty, well, technically 4 tapes because there is one bad segment of the movie that is not sci-fi themed. It's based off something worse. I'll get to that later. But as for my reaction, so back when I saw this film, you all know, I went and saw a one-night screening of this at one of my local theaters. And originally, you all know I wasn't a fan of it at first in my quickie last year, but I just rewatched it now, and, well, how is it now? It is honestly, it's a bit better than the first time I watched it. In fact, honestly, where would I rank this now? I think I would now put this above VHS 99 and Viral, and Kids vs. Aliens, and you know what? I would even put this above the first movie. I think the first movie is much worse than this one was because I like the first one that had one good segment. This one had much better. This one had much better, few more good segments than the first one did. But I wouldn't say it's great because there are 2 segments in this movie I do not like in this film. How was this made? Well, it was around October 2023 when VHS A5 was released. It was at the New York Comic Con. A 7th VHS film was in development when it got announced there. Usually ironically, around October 2024 last year, they announced VHS 8 at the same New York Comic Con. Ironic, but each of the anthology segments were confirmed to be sci-fi oriented in the vein of horror franchise sequels like Jason X, the dreaded Leprechaun 4, Hellraiser Bloodline, oh fuck. Annabelle in Space, based off, aka a lot of bad sequels, which is why when I first heard this announced, I was like, oh, we're doing a space one again? When have horror franchises going to space worked? Never. They've never worked. Hellraiser 4 sucked ass, Jason X didn't even bombed, and Leprechaun 4 sure shit didn't work. None of the Leprechaun films work, though, to be fair. Amityville in Space sounds fucking stupid. And Dracula 3000, I don't know what the fuck that is. But, yeah, and of course, much like the last few films have been, this would be a Shudder exclusive release. Josh Goldblum, Brad Miska, and James Hurst served as the producers. And Shudder worked with Bloody Disgusting once again. And then in July 2024 last year, they announced the directors. Jordan Downey, Kristen, Justin Long, Justin Martinez, Fire Pilot Kate Siegel, with Michael Schreiber as a producer. Then, the film premiered at Fantastic Fest last year as part of the course with the past few films on September 20th, 2024, and was to be released onto Shudder on October 4th, 2024. And this one got kind of the same, and when it's released, it got the same amount of acclaim VHS 94 did. And actually is the highest rated on Metacritic. So, and to be fair, as you all know, it was definitely much better on rewatch. So, yeah. So, alright. I don't know what I'm just going to... Okay, so, technically this is an anthology film, so... Usually I like to review the anthologies, kind of like the movie's sci-fi themed, but how does it start? Well, we have a wraparound part of the course with the series, except with the exception of 99, which didn't have a wraparound. It had toy soldiers for the cutaways to the segments. And usually either 4 or 5 segments. Here's so, our wraparound is documentary presented, much kind of like 85's. This does bring up our first flaw. Well, at first, this is set in modern day, aka our decade. Even though this is supposed to be called VHS, so even though this is VHS, why is this a modern day? VHS tapes weren't really a thing back then, so it really just makes no sense. But the wraparound is called abduction. That also appears when the segments end. Yeah, so our frame, but then you find out that since this is a documentary, the documentaries are presenting footage that was found on tapes. That was back when VHS tapes were a thing. So yeah, it's a pair of video cassettes that are bought by this Redditor from a flea market. So okay, now I get it. I didn't get it the first time, but I get it now. I got it better on rewatch. The tapes contained evidence of an alien encounter. Director Jay Chill had received this anonymous email with the footage from both tapes in digitalized form. Yeah. So yeah, that didn't really make sense when I first saw the film. But on rewatch, it got more clear to my head. And I realized these were actually digitalized versions of these tapes. So yeah. In a way, the footage follows the story of the Farrington House, the topic of this urban legend in Canada. In the 2000s, there was this paranormal group that got led by Mitch Horowitz that collected evidence of this gray form. And of course, it explains that if they didn't find proof extra to life, everything they thought they know would come into question around that time. And that's where you get our first segment of the film, called Stork, directed by Jordan Downey. And you know what? This one is easily the best segment of the movie, and definitely one of the best VHS segments. This segment was a segment that had, it had that Resident Evil vibe, it had that Silent Hill vibe, it had that Doom vibe. Right there. You know what? Honestly, this felt like a much better Resident Evil movie. I feel like Jordan Downey should literally be the one directing this. Why can't Jordan Downey be the one directing this new Resident Evil film? Or why couldn't he direct any of the past Resident Evil films in the first place? Because this was way more Resident Evil than any of the movies we've gotten. Right here. Even this felt more Doom than the Doom movie with The Rock did. And much like those, this is a first-person shooter from a team of police officers' perspective. Right there. Here, it's pretty much it focuses on these baby disappearances, and so this police unit recruits this newbie with this camera. They get together, they narrow down this house, and their newest member is named Segura, who is apparently a victim as well, because his son was taken. So they find this house that's guarded by a bunch of zombies. And of course, right there, there's one scouting the house, and they appear to be not really much. They appear to be kind of indifferent to the appearance of the threat. They bust into the house where they kill several brooders. They discover the second floor of this meteor that had crashed through the roof, and it's pretty much whatever came out of it, and it results in the brooders. So they take out all these zombies, in these epic action sequences and these pretty startling moments, of course, and just rambling out of often these zombies coming out of nowhere and they're slaughtering them, and And then, of course, after they slaughter all the zombies, they go up to the attic. You get a few more jump scares, and they find out that there have been babies with the help of this large alien stork-like creature. They shoot and kill the stork, but Segura's injured, but not dead. But not, like, fatally injured. Right there. And so, he ends up being welcomed and accepted by the team members, and throughout the first bit of the segment, like, there were actually some of the team weren't really too accepting of him at first, but then after this whole moment, they shoot and kill a stork, and Segura then gets applauded by the whole entire team, and the team reveals they hunt monsters for a living, but they're unable to save the babies. Right there, and of course, like... Oh, and then of course what I like about this one, I really love how they're all likable officers, and... Well, at first, like, one of them isn't too accepting of the rookie, most of the rest of them are actually nice to the rookie. And ends up really proving himself to them, gets welcomed to the team, and you want to know what else? Nobody died! Not a single one of these cops dies. None of them died in this segment. So that was actually refreshing. I like that actually the good guys won in this segment. It did not end on some downer bullshit. Like, at first you get a last shot of the stork creature briefly awakening, but then guess what? As soon as the creature awakens and it seems like it's gonna end on a downer note, guess what happens? One of the officers come running in, goes, pretty much stomps him going, oh no! like they're not that big. Even they're not stupid. They actually know the creature's still alive, and they actually come and stomp on it. Immediately come back last minute to stomp on it before any of that can happen. So that was an epic shot to end this segment. My only gripe with the segment is that I do wish they could have still saved the babies. That's just one thing I didn't like. Like we end with this photo of the killed stork creature. I do wish we could have had a text explain that maybe they did later come back for the babies. The babies are now deformed, but they at least still got reunited with their families and maybe eventually got cured. But I wish this segment got turned into a movie. This would have made a great film. Love this segment. This movie was off to a really good start. You had a really great segment to kick off the film. Loved that. My bad qualities for Stork, them being unable to save the babies, I think that would just be the problem. Maybe that would just be it. And then you get back to the wraparound, our second interlude, where here, this part reveals that this family of Chinese immigrants arrived in Toronto in the 1950s. Then were well off. They purchased a house in the Victorian era. Then in the 80s, the parents of it died, and the house was left to their eldest son. The eldest son put it up for sale, and then he disappeared. Then during his time in the house, though, the son experienced night terrors and thought the house was maybe either haunted or had mysterious strangers. Kind of related to how people in the past would discover occurrences. And so, the son wanted to prove he was not crazy, so he put up 2 cameras to record what happened. And that's what the documentaries that are presenting the wraparound tell the viewers. Then after that cutaway, you get on to our next segment, and that is called Dream Girl. As per the course of the series, we always do often have a foreign segment in the film. Lots of times. Like VHS 2, Safe Haven was a foreign segment. There's also, VHS Viral, the bad one. That had a Parallel Monsters was our foreign segment. VHS 94, You Had the Subject. That was our foreign segment. There were no foreign segments in VHS 99. VHS 85, God of Death. That was a foreign segment. So it is the course. It is the course of the series. You often do have a foreign segment in most of the films. This one is set in India. And of course, this segment was, mid. It had a unique climax. It had some good gore effects. It had a very interesting idea. But the way this segment kind of starts off is a bit downhill. I mean, it's the gory segment of the film, and it's definitely amazing. And, the gore in this segment was pretty cool. The climax was very unique, but it starts off on a bit of a down note. Alright, so Dream Girl is about these native paparazzi guys named Arnab and Sonu. They have to get a tip to get footage of their latest Bollywood sensation, Tara. So Arnab represents celebrities, though, because he dreamed of being famous himself. And he became this paparazzi hound his way to get closer to the celebrities. Then you see Tara in the latest film, you get this, well... The problem with this segment, you unfortunately have to get through this overlong dance sequence that really does hog up a lot of the short, and that feels too corny. That was kind of the gripe I had with this segment right here. The first half was kind of sluggish. Then Arnab sneaks into her trailer to get his shots, but then he has to hide when she returns with her manager, where her manager treats her like garbage, is very abusive, berates her, pretty much, and then while she's kind of sobbing, Arnab accidentally exposes himself. He discovers what is apparently this other face in a bowl, and then when, of course, Tara spots Arnab and decides to be empathetic to Tara, and he tells her that she shouldn't let herself be pushed around so much, and Tara is touched by his words, but then, of course, you find out something a little sinister about her. Like this whole trailer, like when you're inside her trailer, like you can tell there's something a little bit off about this lady. Because she reveals that she's then some kind of robot demon and then rips her face off, and they reveal that she's not actually a real person. She's actually a demonic robot of some sort. Then Arnab gets chased outside, and Tara pretty much gets revenge on her manager and kills him by spitting acid on him and chases everyone in the studio. Like, this is where the segment does start to get decently pretty better. Right here. This is where it does kind of start to pick up. Like, you get some good gore, and it's nice to see her piece of shit manager actually get what he deserves. She chases everyone in the studio, and she slaughters everyone with red electricity, then kills Sonia, rips Arnab's face off, then places his face on hers, walks outside the journalist whom she attacks, and that's where the segment ends. That's probably the shortest segment of the film. She pretty much then kills her stalker paparazzi guys, kills her abusive boss, and then kills all the journalists. Like, you can tell she kills them all. Obviously, with the way it ends. Like, this one had a nice idea and a concept. That was... The good stuff about Dreamgirl was the nice idea it had, the execution, the concept was actually great. But the beginning bit was kind of boring, and these two stalker paparazzi guys, like, I didn't really find much likable about them. They were kind of fucking annoying the whole film, so they kind of got what they deserved. In a way, trying to stalk some random person for photos. Like, paparazzi are really annoying. Right there. So I guess I did like seeing paparazzi actually kind of get what they deserve. A lot. Man, and the finale I definitely liked. There was some good gore. There was good concepts and decent, cool little practical effects, but that was about it. The segment was not great, but I wouldn't go far to call it terrible. Like, things that could fix it, like maybe... maybe don't, shake the camera around so much, because that was another problem I had. Like, there's tons of cameras looking too much at the lady for a solid minute, and you don't really get too much of a glimpse of her face, despite really being in the shot the entire time. And the rest of the skit really, it's kind of so dark it's hard to really see what's going on in the finale, a lot of parts. Too many electrical sounds, that kind of just goes on, that stuff just goes on a little too long. Like, you don't need to have it dim throughout the entire thing. So, Dreamgirl, I would say, was meh. It, starts off, Stork was kick-ass. Dreamgirl, meh, not terrible, but not great. More of a mixed segment. The finale and the gore were the best parts of that segment. And then we get back to the wraparound again. Our third cutaway, where Horowitz is telling the viewers that alien concepts trace back to this 1987 book by Whitley Strieber, Communion, which popularized the idea of gray aliens. Yeah, gray aliens are pretty much now famous for pop culture. They're pretty much now what everyone thinks about when they see gray aliens. And then he tells the viewers that it led to everybody thinking that maybe that they were not alone. and their company does not wish us well. And then after that cutaway, you get to the third segment, called Live and Let Die. Live and Let Dive, which was done by one of the Radio Silence people, Justin Martinez. Now this one, after a great epic first segment and a meh second segment, you get on to a third segment that actually was the second best segment of the film in my eyes. This one, maybe not as slightly good as Stork, but it was one of the more 8 out of 10 segments of the franchise. This one, I really loved the atmosphere of the segment, and this one really got the fear factor well because I'm scared of doing anything like skydiving, so this really installed the fear factor very realistically well. Like, having a skydiving segment with aliens. That's definitely a right way to kick in the fear with somebody who has a fear of heights like myself, so this was pretty nerve-wracking. And being an alien invasion one too makes it honestly much scarier and even more well directed. So, how Live and Let Dive goes? Well, there's a guy named Zach and his wife Jess, his best friend Logan, and there's many other acquaintances. They're all celebrating Zach's 30th birthday, and they're going skydiving. Zach literally even says, like, when he first appears, I wanted to go bowling, and well, it turns out, as soon as the segment starts, you know they should have just went bowling, because before they're all ready to jump off and introducing themselves, and yeah, Chris Zach's wife's like, my kids are gonna fucking lose their minds when they see this, but just they're ready to jump off, there's a UFO spotted, like, you see a plane bumping a little bit, so you know something's a little wrong. A UFO gets spotted, there's several fighter jets, and things start to get much more intense, and you see an alien hand on one of the planes. Yeah. This segment actually is fucking scary. As soon as this starts, you know shit is gonna go down. Like, an alien literally jumps onto the plane, shows its hand before it collides with the UFO, and sends everyone flying towards this orange farm. Like, crazy shit happens. Like, you see Zach actually falling, and actually looks very realistic because you can hardly hear what he's saying and stuff, and so it's really falling to the ground. You even see one guy's leg off and blood spraying out. You see an alien attacking one of them, and by the time Zach finally is able to activate his parachute, he pretty much hits the ground a little hard, but he survives the fall. But he's one of the few, him, his wife, and his best friend are the only few that survive it. No, actually, no. His best friend does not survive the fall. He dies from the fall. He discovers that Logan's head got, bisected from his body when they landed. And then Zach finds some other survivors. He looks for Jess, but then, of course, an alien immediately attacks the group. The alien, too, there's some people that say the alien CGI looked bad. Fine, maybe some CGI could have been fixed on the alien, but honestly, though, this actually did look a little more like a real alien creature. The alien kind of looked like the body of the Cloverfield monster with an actual alien face on it. It kind of had like the Cloverfield, the Clover monster design, but it looked more like an alien that moves a lot faster than the Clover monster does. But all of Zach's friends get killed. And he finds Jess's remains because the alien had actually killed her earlier. So eventually, at first, Zach does actually try to save one of his friends by throwing an orange at the alien, but the alien sees him and pretty much gives him that look, pretty much gives him that look as he prints out these knives burst out of the alien's hands, I'll deal with you later. And then pretty much still kills his friend anyway. So unfortunately, he's unable to save his friend, but it's clear the alien is gonna deal with him later, but is gonna kill his friend first. So Zach pretty much makes a run for it, and all Zach's friends are dead, and he's the last one left. He manages to escape the grove, and he sees this farmer's truck, and he gets into the farmer's truck immediately, demanding they leave, but the farmer does not believe him, and he's pissed off at him for getting the truck. He's like, you have till 3 to get the fuck out of my truck. And he's pointing a gun at him, threatening to shoot him if he does not leave. But he's like, no, please, we gotta get out of here. He tries to warn him frantically, but his warnings get to the farmer on deaf ears. It fall on deaf ears to the farmer. He's not convinced at all, but then the alien kills him, and just as the farmer immediately fires his gun, the gun then blasts off some of Zach's fingers. And you see the alien killing the farmer, but and then of course in a very random out of nowhere jump scare, Zach turns away from the alien killing the farmer. And then of course, I think this must have been the alien that killed his friend that had killed one of his friends earlier. He like gets at pretty much peeping his head through the truck like that. When I first watched this segment, I was like, like literally, you all know I saw a one night screening of this. Like the whole entire theater freaked the fuck out when that part happened. The entire auditorium literally jumped out of their minds when that bit happened right there. And of course, like pretty much given that, there you are, I've already saved you for last. Pretty much gives him that kind of face, and he then begins his attack, blasting the light into Zach's face, but then that doesn't kill Zach, but the alien just disappears, and right there, so Zach does try to drive away, thinking that maybe they just chose not to deal with him. But Zach tries to drive away, but because of his injured fingers, hanging off his hand, he's unable to really drive away successfully. And also not only that, another problem awaits him. The truck then just starts lifting into the air. It won't start, but it lifts in the air because it turns out the truck with him in it is abducted by the aliens. And I think from what we see, once Zach's in the ship, I think maybe the aliens shoot him to death. I think they blast him to death in their ship or something, because with the flashing lights, it seems like he's kind of getting blasted to death or something, so it's likely he does get killed. He probably obviously dies as soon as he gets in the ship. So yeah, this one, love this segment, but it does sadly end on a down note. I was kind of hoping that maybe it would have ended with at least one survivor. That's how I wish it did kind of end. I think a better ending would have been maybe when he gets to the truck, the driver does see the alien, and he does actually manage to shoot it. Or maybe the farmer then realizes, sees the alien, and sees the alien, manages to escape the alien attack, and immediately he tells Zach to drive off, and stays to sacrifice himself to get abducted, and Zach is able to escape. Then he gets onto a road, and he's pretty much all looking back. Maybe he could have a bit of a black comedy moment, when he's just looking back at the road and the orange grove or something, and seeing a bit more trash road from the alien invasion. Oh fuck, how am I gonna explain all this to my kids? And then the segment cuts to black there. I feel like that should have been how the segment ended. I feel like that would have been better, honestly, instead of just trying to do the Slumber Party alien abduction ending again. Because that's what the ending kind of felt like. But it was still an amazing segment. The plane crash looked great and terrifying on camera. This one was definitely right up my alley, and I had enjoyment watching this unfold. Some cheap effects could be fixed, but it didn't bother me too much, with this being another unique and well-made segment, also with some good gore. Right there, and it was definitely one of the best one-night screening experiences I had. Being in a room where people at the screening actually freaked out in the auditorium for a lot of this segment. And honestly, I kind of don't blame them, because this segment was pretty terrifying. It does have some problems, but it was still a good segment. It's the second best segment of the series. No, not of the series. Second best segment of the movie. Now you get back to the wrap on, where Horowitz is telling the viewers his interest in alien sightings. He says he does not have the expertise to analyze them. The segment, though, then cuts this YouTube channel, Corridor Digital, that's hosted by Nico Periger and Sam Gornsky, and they're known for analyzing digital effects, where they explain to the viewers that if an alien footage were to apply on the viewer not being able to clearly see it, it loses credibility, but they do express their interest. Then, sadly, that's when the good or decent ones end, and then you get to the bad segments. our first bad segment of the movie, and easily what I would now have to call the second worst VHS segment ever. Starting with fucking Justin Lawns. Oh god. I have to. Oh no. Not this fucking segment. I do not want to talk about this shit. Shit. This one is called fucking Fur Babies. This is the one Justin Long directed. You want to know what this segment literally is? You know that horror film that Kevin Smith directed called Tusk from 2014, 10 years before this movie came out. That segment, it is literally the dog version of it. Yeah, that shit movie when Kevin Smith wanted to make his own little human centipede or Saw or Hostel. That was what Tusk was. Pretty much human centipede, except where a human got turned into a walrus. And no, it was not funny. It was not just a shit movie. That was such a mean-spirited, vile, revolting film. One of easily A24's worst horror movie yet. This one was also shit. Like, I can bet you how this got made. Justin Long went to Kevin Smith on the phone like, hey, I'm invited to do a VHS segment. What am I going to do? I'll call my best friend Kevin Smith. Go to Kevin Smith on the phone. Meanwhile, at Kevin Smith's house, the announcement for some new Avengers movies out. I gotta cry to the reactions. My phone's ringing. Hi, who is this? This is Kevin Smith. How can I help you? Hey. Meanwhile, with Lon, hi, Smith. I got invited to do a VHS segment for the new VHS movie. You have any ideas for me what I should do for this segment? Meanwhile, at Smith's residence, you know that horror movie you did with me called Tusk? That great film we did together? How about you make your own version of that with a different animal? That's a great idea, Smith. How about I make Tusk with dogs? Wow, that's great, and I hope your segment ends up great, so maybe I could get invited to do a VHS segment where my VHS segment could finally be Moose Jaws. Maybe I'll get the word with that. Bye. See you later. Yeah, see ya. I gotta go cry to the new Marvel announcements. Ha! Looks like great thing I went to Smith for advice now to go make my version of Tusk. And that is what the segment was. Or this time around, dogs get turned to humans and not walruses. So, how does Fur Babies go? Well, we focus on this woman named Becky that runs this dog daycare center, keeps taxidermies of dogs. So, these animal rights activists are watching her ad, and they decide to investigate her home. And they see these little stuffed dogs on her wall. And so they send members Stuart and Angela along with their leader's dog named Pickles with a camera. So Becky then lets them in like, hi guys, come inside. I would be like, fuck no. You definitely don't sound sane at all. Like with the way she just warmly welcomes them in their house. Why would you go inside her house? And like these activists themselves are already not likable when you meet them. They come off as whiny. They come off as childish. They come off as douchey. To this point, honestly, these are characters I'm already rooting for to die. I already want these characters to die in this segment. As soon as the segment starts, that's not a good thing to think of. So, yeah, they go inside her home because they're too stupid to know that she's clearly not trustworthy. And sees through, but of course, because predictable, she sees through the two's ruse because of how stupid they are. So she takes them to her basement. Come with me, guys. Come downstairs. I want to show you something. They see this guy staring at them like, who's that? Oh, that's just my brother. Don't mind him. This brother does not look normal. He's just staring at them like, Maybe if that guy's staring at you, how about you get out of the house? You know something bad is about to happen. So she takes him to her basement, but they fall for her stupid trap, and she reveals that her people came asking her questions, and this is to play the naughty corner, where we keep the people that annoy me, and came onto my property, where I keep them, and I turn them into dogs. So yeah, that's what happens right there. So she captures them, her and that weird unstable guy capture them, with the intent to turn them into human-dog hybrids. Right there, and then he's kind of see her vlogging this place vlogging her entire actions, where she's like locking them in dog kennels and torturing the shit out of them and stuff, and like, oh my god, like this was unpleasant to watch. Like this, holy hell, this segment made me want to take a shower because of how unpleasant to watch, to sit through this was. And no, not good kind of unpleasant to sit through. Bad, mean, vile, unpleasant to sit through. As in awful, unpleasant to sit through. As in like stuff like Ooh, Bull Seed or Wrong Turn 5 levels of unpleasant. Those. It really felt like watching something like those movies again. Well, also Tusk, again, because it's the same plot of Tusk, basically. But then the activists break into the house as she's torturing the two, and being ready to graphically add on the whole old dog parts to them. Thank God they don't show that bit. At least they don't show that stuff. But then, of course, the activists, they all because they stupidly gave themselves away, they get caught and killed by the human-dog hybrids that Becky had brainwashed. And, of course, then it ends with a porch burglar stealing packages from Becky's home and gets killed by one of her human hybrid dogs. That's the end of the segment. That's literally it. I guess if there's one thing to like about this, maybe the burglar bit was kind of funny. I'll admit that was okay. The part of the porch part was kind of funny. I'll admit, okay, maybe that was kind of funny. Other than that, this segment, there was nothing else redeeming about it. Yeah, it wasn't scary, but it was still vile to sit through. This segment was just mean-spirited as fuck. This segment made me feel like garbage watching this segment. This was impossible to enjoy. Like, oh my god, like, I was waiting for this segment to bloody end quick. As soon as it reveals that basement, like, I immediately knew where this was going. Like this was... even though I hated these segments, I still wish this doggy daycare faker got her comeuppance. But no, Justin Long and his brother, wanted it to be like Tusk. Because we need to be reminded of that shitty Kevin Smith horror film so bad. Right there, because clearly he probably got this idea from Smith himself. Like, honestly though, after watching this segment, Justin Long, please, do not direct ever again. Do not go near horror ever again, because almost the past every other horror film you've done has sucked. Jeepers Creepers sucked. Raven Hell was not even good. Barbary was not even good. Just stop going near... Tusk was awful. Do not go near horror and just stick with comedy. It actually has some good comedy films. Actually has some decent comedy films. It's the horror stuff that's not... The horror stuff he's in has never been good. And I'm sorry, but I hate Jeepers Creepers. I still hate Jeepers Creepers, guys. Can't wait for next VHS film. They'll probably have Kevin Smith do his Moose Jaws idea. Or better. Or I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they get Seth Rogen to direct a segment about killer weed. Hey, Dad, a segment about people smoking weed tonight. Yeah, that'd be those would all be horrible segments. Can't wait for those to happen. They probably will. But after that awful segment is finally over, we get back to our wraparound, where Horowitz explains to the viewers that during the Cold War, the public saw aliens as invaders because of Orson Welles, and the radio drama World caused mass hysteria. Then Puriger and Gorski talk about their Boston Dynamics videos that they made on their YouTube channel, and features robots being abused by humans. And apparently these videos were so convincing that people sent death threats to Boston Dynamics because they thought it was all real. Then Horowitz talks about how even when something is debunked, some believers would not be dissuaded, in a way. And with that, guys, we are now back to our last segment of the film. And that is called Stowaway, directed by Kate Spiegel and produced by Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan, I'm going to be honest on. He's more mixed as a director. Don't get me wrong, there are some good movies from him I liked. I liked Hush was a good movie. He directed that movie. I liked that movie. That was definitely a really good film. Dr. Sleep was a really good film that Mike Flanagan directed, and I liked that movie. Then, of course, you have, what was it? What else did he direct? Gerald's Game, starring Carla Gugino. That was a pretty decent film he directed. But the stuff I do not like from him, I don't like the film Oculus. I thought that was a bad movie. I'm not a fan of Ouija, Origin of Evil. So, direct. Well, yeah, and this one, I get he didn't direct this segment. His wife directed this one, but he still produced it. I did not like this segment either. Like, it's not as bad as Fur Babies, but the reason why I did not like this segment, for good reason. This one was boring. This segment went on way too long. This segment felt like it just did not want to end. And this segment almost put me to sleep because how boring as shit it was. Like, yeah, so this segment just was just boring. It's not like Fur Babies levels of bad because, well, this has better redeeming qualities than Fur Babies did. Fur Babies almost had like 0. Except for like the ending with the porch pirate, and that was it. This segment is about this woman named Hallie who has abandoned her husband and child, abandoned her child's birthday. Like, she already summons herself off as an unlikable character at this rate, so it's really hard to really feel any sympathy for her at all. Like, well, I forgot my kid's birthday, but there will be other birthdays. So what? I think your kid's birthday is more important than your bloody research, lady. She's documenting her findings of extraterrestrial encounters in the desert. Then one night, while camping out, she witnesses a light fall from the sky and investigates where she finds a spaceship. She enters and examines the interior. She cuts herself, and then Nan cuts her finger on this little strings there in the ship that make this musical-like sound. And then the camera work, yeah, this is camera work because this is definitely camera work you would find on a VHS tape. They got the VHS quality right with this segment. That's one good quality about this segment, is that at least they got the VHS quality right. But it's still hard to see, literally hard to really see the ship. Because it's so dimly lit. But she cuts herself with this finger, and these little nanite-like bugs come out, they heal her finger. But then she learns it causes minor mutations. At first she loves what the nanites did, but then she realizes the problem, the consequences it has, because the ship keeps other animals in stasis and copies her DNA. She hides from this alien, and Hallie realizes that she now has no escape because the door's been sealed off, and the ship travels at light speed. And then she gets tossed around the ship and injured, but we don't get to see much of the results. And at first it seems like the segment is going to end there. No. Guess what? Remember the scene with the nanites healing her? You have to see it again. And they come back and they heal her again, and she's all mutated more. She tries to slit her throat. And she continues to further mutate. I think she tries to slit her throat from what I see. But no, you have to see the scene with the nanites heal her again. And again. And again. And again. On repeats. That's literally what once she's in the ship, that is literally how this rest of the segment goes. And this one did not freak me out. This one was not really that enjoyable. There was nothing interesting. There wasn't really much interesting about this segment except for maybe the VHS quality, and maybe the whole VHS quality was kind of cool, and we're right there, and it actually does feel like a segment you'd find on a VHS tape. It takes place during the years of VHS. And this one does feel sci-fi themed, so I guess you can't really take this segment out. If there was a segment you should take out, it's fur babies, because I should have mentioned this when I was talking about fur babies. That one is not even sci-fi themed at all. It has nothing to do with aliens, that had nothing to do with UFOs, that had nothing to do with spaceships, which is the theme of this movie. At least Stowaway is actually sci-fi themed. At least it's about a spaceship. It has an alien thing in it. Right here. So at least this segment, this is a bad segment, but it's sci-fi themed. At least it has a reason to be in the movie. It's right there. Right there. But I just had no idea what really the point of this segment really was. Because this segment really what the plot of this segment was, because it really just made no sense. A woman just encountering a ship in the desert, gets trapped in it for life, gets caught, but she can't die because the nanites keep healing her to the point where she's a mutated mess. That's about it. Nothing much. No plot. That's it. And there's times when it literally looks like the segment's about to end, and it keeps going. Eventually, it does end. Like, it's just slow and predictable. Yeah, it's supposed to be, apparently it's intended to be, but the way it's shot is so dark, like, it's hard to see what's even going on. Like, this segment felt way too long. But then you get to the very last part of the finale, where the two YouTubers and Horowitz, they reunite with Brian Baker of the YouTube channel called The Superstitious Times. And we see the experts watching the footage from the cameras that we're about to see in a little bit, and they give the reactions and they describe what's happening. They give their thoughts on it. From what we see, they're uncomfortable by what they're witnessing, and the footage gets shown and presented without comments, and the experts cannot really verify or touch much for its authenticity. And so, what we do see from what they were watching, the eldest son was asleep, and an alien creature enters his room, and apparently removes alien eggs from his body, takes the camera, and kills him by shoving the camera in his throat. That's the end of the wraparound. That's really it. That's all that was. Just kind of an anticlimactic end to this wraparound, really. Just alien just shoving a camera in a guy's throat. The end. And with that, guys, that is the end of VHS Beyond as a whole. Since this is more of an anthology movie, I do a review more like where I talk about like the good and the bad qualities in the stories, but this is an anthology series, so I kind of have to talk about the series stories as a whole and talk about the good qualities in them and the bad qualities in them. So, how would I rank the segments? Well, first place, Stork. Second place, Live and Let Dive. Third place, Dream Girl. Fourth place, The Wraparound. Abduction/abduction. It's not one of the worst. I've seen worse wraparounds in this series, but this is a wraparound that was, really it was there. Just there. Not much else to it. It was there. That's all it was. Then, of course, fifth place, Stowaway. And bottom worst, Fur Babies. Obviously. That's how I rank the segments in this movie. And I would give this movie a better score than what I did the first time. If you want to check out only a few segments and not the whole entire movie, here's what I recommend watching. Watch the first segment, Stork, and watch the third segment, Live and Let Dive. Especially do watch the first segment. The first segment is awesome. You know, like, remember how I would mention that video where I made my fan edit of the first film? Where I made a different, actually good wraparound and kept the segments, Amateur Nights, 3 segments from VHS 2 and Bone Storm. Well, right there, how I would do the sequels. Now that we have, 7 VHS movies? How I would do the sequels would be, maybe the second one could take place in a little hell dimension, maybe have more. The second one could have a more Creepshow-like feel, where apparently the dead old guy that I mentioned in that video of how I made VHS a better movie. The dead old guy's soul ends up in this hell dimension. And this, like, demon thing finds him. Finds these tapes that got sent to hell with the body. Right there, because since there were a lot of tapes in his house, like, some tapes and this TV got dumped into his little dimension. And so it becomes like a Creepshow movie, you know? Maybe it kind of like becomes something like, you know, maybe like Creepshow 2's little wrapper. Maybe Creepshow 2's wraparound, where the Creepshow guy himself was presenting us the segments in comic form. Like, it could be like that, where the demon would be just watching the segments presented to him, and he'd be turning them on. You want to know what I would have... The segments I would have put in my VHS 2? I would put the subjects. I would put Suicide Bid for the second segment. I would put, you know, maybe Live and you know what? Maybe Live and Let Dive could actually be what would probably be going on. Maybe it could take place in a dimension it could maybe take place in the dimension To Hell and Back was from VHS 99 was doing. Maybe it could be like that. You know, like, maybe it could take place in that dimension around that time, where the story of To Hell and Back was happening around the same time as my wraparound for my sequel would have went. Maybe it could be like that. So maybe I keep that for the end. Okay. What else could I put? Oh, Storm Drain. Yes, Storm Drain. Can't forget that. Can't forget Storm Drain. And of course, I need a third segment. Oh boy. You know what? Maybe I'll finish that. Maybe I'll finish that idea out when VHS 8 comes out. Whatever good segments in VHS 8, maybe I'll make a video about how I make VHS 2 a better movie. But VHS 85, I would just take out Techno God, because that segment was awful, and just keep the rest of the segments, because I actually liked a majority of VHS 85. So I would just leave VHS 85 mostly the same. But yeah. More on that on another video. So yeah. VHS Beyond, overall, a fine movie. Maybe not one to revisit a lot as to an 85, but it's definitely an improvement the second time around. So in the end, I would stream VHS Beyond because you will get kicks out of it if you are a VHS fanatic, but if you aren't, then it's just a streaming only worth checking out for the first and third segments, and that's it. Anyways, guys, that's it for my view of VHS Beyond. And for anyone who already VHS Beyond, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you have loved the franchise and still enjoy seeing what the series offers, I would totally watch VHS Beyond online wherever you can find it, but if not, then you will get most of the things that aren't good at the series, although the first and third segments are definitely worth a watch. And if we're anyhow going VHS Beyond, I'm going to give VHS Beyond a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for VHS Beyond. Now, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about VHS Beyond. Whether you actually are it's one of your favorite VHS movies or it's one of the worst VHS movies, what segments you guys liked or hated. And until then, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.